Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. It is Tuesday, May 30th, 2023, the year I call 7, and I'm here with number 4 in our Artist Dream Life Sessions series. This year's workshop that I'm doing piece by piece, we are at number 4, and that is body. For those of you that are just joining us and learning about what I share here, I have shared 3. Yes, we are at number 4. So I shared about the heart. That was number 1. Number 2 was the mind. Number 3 was our soul. And number 4 is our body. I share some of this on Instagram only because I can't share the entire video. I usually make very long videos, so I've been told. So if you want to watch the entirety of this or any of these videos or any other videos, you can find me on YouTube. Our channel is Soñado, Libré Sound. And here we are. This is number 4. I'm very excited to share this because I am in the throes of my own physical body healing journey. Now, most of this, I'm going to say all of this actually, I'm just going to go as I feel led to share because I wanted to share through my experience, probably from the get-go and from the beginning of my life. So I'll probably get into a little bit of testimony. But this is going to resonate with all of us because we all are very cognizant of our physical existence. It is the most tangible and, dare I say, real part of who we are. It is the part of self that we truly associate our identity with, when in fact it is the last part of self to manifest our true identity. So take that in for a minute, but it is important to know our bodies and know them well, okay? Those of you who follow me with on She's Restored and are going through this inner healing journey with me, you know that I speak a lot about spirit, soul, and body. That is the Trinity of Self. And it all begins in the inner being. The degree of your health spiritually will affect the health of your soul, which is your mind, your heart, and your will. Or you could say your thoughts, your emotions, and your decision making. And to the degree of that health in your inner being will affect your body. Because our bodies, as much as they are the most tangible and physical evidence of who we are, that we exist, they are only as strong as what's inside. Okay, so I might get a little deep here for a while, and now that I'm thinking about this, depending on how long I have, I might do a second part to this because there is so much to cover with our bodies. But let's begin. So our body is obviously the physical part of self. Our bodies carry the history of our life. They also carry the simultaneously, they carry the restored version of who we are and who we are on the timeline of approaching and entering into our future self. They also carry our past of who we've been, where we've been, what we've been through, And obviously, they are only led by our present decision making. Okay? There's so much to get into. So bear with me as I'm putting this together. But I do want you to take a moment right now and think about yourself, your physical self, your body. What are some of the thoughts that come to mind when you think about your body? It can be anything, because we are all in different places and spaces. We are all struggling somehow, in some way, in our bodies because of the fact that we are living in a broken place, broken earth that is subject to death and decay. It's subject to disease, and we are at the mercy of the elements in our atmosphere and in our space. We are also at the mercy of the choices that we make to care for our bodies or neglect our bodies. And I'm going to get into this because this is something that's very important, and it is very interconnected with what is going on in our soul and what is going on in our spirit realm. So take a moment, think about your body. What are the thoughts that come to mind? How do you feel when you think about your physical self? Do you feel happy with where you are? Do you feel discouraged? What do you feel? And also, what do you hope to feel for your physical body? This is where we can get into learning how to strategize, healthy regimen for exercise or nutrition, or more water. And of course, we will get into other issues that we can be facing with our physical bodies that are obviously detrimental. So where are you today when it comes to your physical health? Now, where we're going to connect the dots here is to remember, again, we are spirit, soul, and body, and it is a domino effect of how strong I am spiritually will affect my mental health and my emotional health, which will affect my decisions that I make for my life, which obviously pours into where I am physically. Okay, so some of the things I want to get into now that I'm kind of putting this together right now is this interconnection between the soul and the body, because just as in our inner being of mind, heart, and will, which again, please refer to these other videos that I've shared, which I get in detail about, but how I am doing or feeling in my mental realm pours into how I am doing or feeling in my emotional realm. That in turn pours into how I choose. Okay? Are you with me on this? So, in other words, let's say I have gone through a major life crisis, and I am in a crisis state of stress and anxiety, and I'm trying to cope with my circumstance. Now, this is an extreme example, but it's a good one to start with because it sort of sets the template for the rest of this. When I'm in a level of stress that is too much for me, it obviously impedes my ability to think rationally and to process some of what I'm going through. So there is this level of autopilot that my mind can go into based on my circumstance, as well as my default way of thinking, which is based on my childhood trauma or pain and experience, as well as my healthy or unhealthy coping mechanisms that I've developed throughout my life experiences based on what I've been through. I know that's a lot to chew on, but that will obviously pour into how I feel. And truly, again, I shared about this before, how some of us are thinkers, some of us are feelers, so some of us may feel more intensely what we're going through. So that will be our battleground in this scenario and other scenarios. And for some of us, it will be a mental warfare that we're going through in this situation and in other situations. Because of this crisis scenario, my thinking is impaired. My emotions are in turmoil because I'm overwhelmed. And therefore, my body will also follow suit and feel the impact of the stress and anxiety. So, some of you may suffer with anxiety and depression. Usually in the medical world and system, they have them interchangeably. I actually have a teaching on anxiety for those of you who are interested, which I shared probably 2 years ago, maybe, on my She's Restored channel, YouTube. So you can refer to that if you really want to know what anxiety is and how it works and how it affects us and how we can manage and cope. So in this crisis example, our body will naturally, by design actually, because it is actually programmed in our physical DNA, to sort of heal itself, actually. Our bodies were created to heal themselves, which is why when you get a paper cut, it heals by itself. You don't really have to do anything to it. I mean, that's a small example, but it's a very tangible one. So with this said, our bodies will respond to our emotional state of being and our mental state of being. Okay? Well, I'll keep going on this example. So, someone who has been in a crisis, for example, a car accident or some kind of traumatic event, some of what has happened to you or to this person, I can process, and some of it I cannot, because it's a traumatic example and a traumatic event. And I'm using this kind of extreme example to sort of kind of pull us into this realm of the physical. But for example, if someone was in a car accident, they are jolted, obviously, because it was unexpected. They are probably stressed mentally because they don't know what's happened to the car, to them, people in the car, the people in the other car. Obviously, emotionally, it's a scare. So, and obviously physically, there is a response because of the scare. And our bodies can do all kinds of things when it comes to physical trauma. We can, depending on your natural tendency of fight or flight response, or freeze or fawn, your body can naturally turn in that direction. And also, in a situation like this, because it was jolting and unexpected, and perhaps even something you've never experienced, your body can do all kinds of things, okay? Because it is, obviously this is, you know, a physical situation as well, because a car accident, you can physically get injured. But if it was a situation where it wasn't a physical injury, your body would still follow suit with the traumatic moment or event that your mind and your emotions would experience. Okay? So, let's go to a, well, I don't know if it's much less severe, because this can be just as dangerous, actually. And the example I was going to use is, let's say that someone is struggling with an unhealthy coping mechanism physically to stress and anxiety. And actually, let's just get into this, because this is important to remember that based on our childhood trauma or unhealed parts of the self, the inner self, I should say, and actually the physical self, because some of us actually have been through physical trauma in our life, whether that's physical trauma or abuse, sexual trauma or abuse, any kind of unwanted physical pain. Our bodies have muscle memory. So when we have been through something such as physical trauma, and our bodies have recorded this and these events, they get stored in the body. And even if you haven't been through a physical trauma or a sexual trauma, you've been through a mental or emotional trauma, that still gets lodged and stuck in the body. Trauma is something that happens to us, that we learn how to process and release. For those of you who are new, I personally actually teach how to process pain. I use art, music, and movement, and I'm available for any of you who are interested in that. But those of us who have been through any kind of trauma, because trauma is stored and recorded in the subconscious part of the mind, it takes activating the subconscious part of the mind, the limbic system altogether, actually, to access it and to release it, and to restore self, spirit, soul, and body. So with that said, those of us who have come to the place, now here's another thing that's important, is recognizing that you must come to a place where you're ready to face the pain of your life, whatever that is for you. And we all have different stories, different testimonies, and different history of what we've been through. But a lot of times, before we're ready, we tend to automatically and by default turn to unhealthy and often toxic coping to numb the pain. Okay? And I'm going to be very candid about this because it is important for us to talk about, and it's important to know that what you're battling right now, what you're struggling with right now, is not unreachable for remedy. Okay? Some of us are struggling with addiction right now. Whether it's, when I say addiction specifically, because we're talking about the body today, I am talking about a physical addiction. Whether it's substance, alcohol, or food, or any other kind of physical addiction, understanding that my body has developed, because of my choices, a way of functioning that I have told myself, or I have taught myself, or I have come to believe is helping me through what's hurting. Okay? Most of the time with addiction, because addiction is a lot of times a very obvious struggle, we tend to forget that it is a struggle. There's no discounting that at all, because it is its own realm of pain and struggle. But how we come to battle, actually how we come to acknowledge, number one, I have a problem with addiction. How we come to accept and embrace, this is part of my 3 to 5 step process that I'm sharing. That is to say, I own that I have this issue, this problem. And then to process it, which is basically to say, I'm ready to come face to face with this issue and problem that I have, and I'm ready to deal with it. I'm ready to battle it. I'm ready to conquer it. And I'm ready to be set free. Because it is stages of recovery. But the beginning is to recognize that it is a problem in my life. And I'm here to encourage you because you can overcome addiction. And better still, you can be on your path to sobriety and recovery, and successfully so. And I will say that simultaneously, as you are conquering the physical battle and realm of struggle, it's important to remember that this physical issue comes from an invisible internal issue, which is where the soul realm is. So typically, if I'm battling a physical addiction, it's because there's something inside me that I haven't dealt with that brings me pain, whether it's mental, emotional, or spiritual, that I haven't yet learned how to process and heal from. So I'm here to encourage you, if you are in this place, there is rescue and recovery for you. So with that said, our physical bodies are at the mercy of our will and what we choose. Our bodies are amazing, actually, because they really can withstand a lot. I can laugh now about this, okay? And they can really regenerate themselves. A lot of you know, many of you might even know even more because you might be in the medical field, but our brains have the capacity to regenerate and renew themselves, which is why it's important to remember to renew our mind in places that we have learned, whether it's because of generational bondage or curse that we've inherited and we've adopted into our thought process and how we look at life, or emotionally. How we, and I want to get so much into this, but I can't make this very long today. When I talked about the mind, but I'm going to get into it for just a second because this is important. This is an important highlight. Our mind is actually beautiful, handsome. There is an interconnection, 4 spaces of interconnection the mind has. It has a spiritual, mental connection, that is to say, me and God. It has a mental, intellectual connection. That is my reasoning, my rationalizing, my knowledge realm. It has a mental, emotional connection. So this is where that heart meets mind, mind meets heart. Collision happens. And it has the mental, physical connection. So, and they pour into each other. So again, if I have good mental health because I've learned how to deal with the pain of my life, I've learned how to let go, and I should say unlearn unhealthy coping mentally and emotionally and physically. I mean, it's all of it, but I'm speaking specifically about the mind. And I'm able to renew my mind and my thought processing so that my brain begins to recover. And those of us who have been through trauma, whether, again, physical, emotional, mental, sexual, whatever it is, this process is amazing because, again, our body is really at the mercy of how well we think and how well we feel about who we are. I will take the best care of my body, and really, it doesn't matter what you've been through. You can heal and you can recover when you learn how to, number one, be gentle with yourself. Be forgiving with yourself. And remember that our bodies really are a snapshot of the life we've lived. So embrace wherever you are today, because I asked you earlier, how do you feel about your body? And now, how do you feel about your body? Your body has been through a lot, and yet you can grow younger. And I don't say that superficially. I say that with true zeal, and I mean vitality. Like, you can, as you unlearn and relearn the truth about who you are, why you're here, what you're called to do, and you learn how to better cope with the pain of your life and the current stress of your life or the future stress of your life, you can learn to renew your bodies as well, on a path to a calmer nervous system, and a more peaceful state of being, which we all long for by design. It's God-given, innate desire that we live, and that we live long. So with that said, I'm going to wrap up here. I hope this has blessed you and helped you. I'm not sure when I'm coming back for our next session, but again, I would encourage you, for those of you that are new, or if you just want to refresh your memory, go back to the other ones. And I got 7 because it's the year called 7. We are at number 4, so we got 3 more. And as I mentioned at the start of the year, I'm basically breaking these down one by one. Then I will do an actual workshop with all of them, which hopefully you guys will join me and chime in and share what you've learned along the way, and what we can learn from you. So I hope y'all are doing well. I love y'all so much. I miss you. Good things are coming for all of us. I'm excited with everything that's going on with all of you. And I do have much more to share, but as I mentioned before, where I am right now, I've just been in the space of self-reflection and growth. So some of my calendar I've had to just patiently wait until it's time to release something. So number 4, Artistry Life sessions, soul strengthening sessions, the body. And I hope your body is on its path to healing and recovery. Love y'all. Talk to you soon. Bye.